welcome for those of you that have just joined us for the second of our lunchtime talks for Small Business Month. We're just waiting for a few more of the participants to join, but my name's Karen from Virtual Excursions Australia, and we're very excited to have you here today and all of our fabulous guests that have joined us to talk about sort of maximising those online experiences and events. So we will get started in a few moments, but this is a great opportunity, I think, so for Mary and Kylie. If you wanted to share or have any questions that you might want us to answer throughout the session today, or any areas that you're interested. Please feel free to put anything in the chat as well, because we can respond to your questions live if you just want to put things in the chat. So that's quite good for any of the housekeeping, that you are more than welcome to have your videos off and audio, and just put things in the chat. If you want to use the raised hand button if you've got a question, and then have your camera on, that is completely fine. Just be aware we are recording this session, so we will be able to share a copy with this of the session after the event as well. So it's 12 o'clock, we will get started. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land in which we all come today, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging leaders. I think it is always important to think back and you know, about the land. I know we've got one of our participants here today does a lot of work, you know, connecting to land and connecting to nature. So that's specifically important as well. Excellent. So today we are funded by New South Wales Small Business Month. So this is a special event that we've been able to put on for free for small businesses across New South Wales to provide information about looking at online events. We've had a lot of experience with Virtual Excursions Australia, really during COVID and the last couple of years, having to pivot to looking at online events. We've got some great people here today that can really help us understand how to best promote, market and put on an online event. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to Ben Newsom from Physics Education, who's also one of the co-founders of Virtual Excursions Australia, to get the ball rolling. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Karen. Welcome, everyone. This is not just a chat to you for the sake of it. We actually want to make sure you get to actually, you know, talk like a human to each other and you actually get a bit out of this. So, yeah, my name's Ben. I am a co-founder of Virtual Excursions Australia. So that has been going for over a decade, doing online events. Currently, I am isolating in my home. I don't have COVID, but my family does. So I know a number of our speakers have had various contentious issues, and as we discuss our online events today, you might too. And more importantly, how do you surmount that? How do you deal with that? So feel free to definitely ask questions in the chat. I'm very much a link dropper. So as things get mentioned, I'll go grab it and shove it into there. Please feel free to click on them and save them as you go ahead. You'll see in my name, it says Physics Education as well. Not spelled very well, but that's a science education company. I'm also coming from a small business background as well. Our job is to do education outreach in all sorts of ways when it comes to science. Anyway, so we have some really awesome speakers, and a number of them I actually know very, very well. So Sybil Williams will be coming in from Atomic Tangerines, very much a bit of a guru when it comes to marketing and actually getting people into events. Now, also Rowena, Bale, heavily involved when it comes to actually delivering the actual events, and honestly at scale, and all sorts of different clients that Rowena's worked for, which is really, really cool. And just towards the end, we get to hang out with Mark Charette. Mark does an amazing job with the bricks and mortar businesses. How do you marry online world with physically going to a location, and more importantly, them finding you, and hopefully Google finding you, and more than that, I can tell you that. Very, very good. So enough from me, because it's not about me. It's about the people we're going to listen to. So what we'll do is I want you to introduce you to Sybil, who is an amazing presenter, and well, feel free to ask questions as we go on. Go ahead, Sybil, take it away.
Unmute myself. Hi, I'm Sybil, and I'm actually coming at you from Wongaland, which is in Lilyfield in New South Wales. So I wanted to pay my respects to elders past and present and reaffirm my ongoing commitment to supporting new Indigenous leaders as they come through and grow and into their power. So I'm just going to try and share my screen. There we go. Share. Has everyone got that? Yeah, awesome. So Sybil Williams, I'm the CEO and founder. Oh, hello. No, you do not want to be Excel. There we go. CEO and founder of Atomic Tangerine. We're a marketing agency, work primarily with purpose-driven organisations, so small and medium organisations across Australia and New Zealand. I've got 20 years plus experience in communications and marketing, so and also a background in training and events. So this is kind of really my bag. Fun fact about me, I was actually born in Barbados and I've lived in 10 countries. So most of those before I was 11. So I've kind of a bit of a citizen of the world. So as Ben said, what we're here to talk about today is maximising live engagement online. And for me, with my marketing hat on, obviously an event engagement, it really starts before the event. You have to get the right people in the room. You have to really sell the value of what it is that they're giving up their time to come and see. And you want to build interest and fear of missing out over time. So really getting people revved up so that when they walk in the room, they're walking or join online, they're joining with that energy and that kind of expectation of really engaging in the content. So for me, when I'm thinking about running events, and whether that is online or in meet space in the real world, it's why are you running this event? And the reason why you want to think about that is because that will help you define what success looks like. So, you know, if you are looking to add value to your current customers, you know, that's really going to be a really reasonably limited number of people who will be coming. It might be about getting new prospects. It might be selling new products or services, or launching them, or building your brand by establishing yourself as a thought leader. So there's all these things that you can be reasons to hold events. So you really want to be aware of that and hold that in your brain, because sometimes that can get lost in the maelstrom of event kind of planning. So just kind of be really aware of what your outcomes are. But then you need to take that hat off and put on your attendee hat. So who is it that you're actually wanting to come to your event? So who are your attendees? You know, I've got picked up just photos of random ones here. So I've got women who are, wanting to meditate and get their mental health and balance back, first home buyers. I've got businesswomen, athletes, potentially, an elderly person who wants to get their fitness back by joining a cycling club. I mean, who knows? Very, very broad, but you will know based on what you're trying to achieve. I think I'm about to have Microsoft Word open. Let's hope not. Anyway, yeah, here it goes. Awesome. Sorry, I think Microsoft is trying to...
You're okay. It's only showing your current screen, so it's all good.
Oh, good. Perfect. Sorry about that. Okay, so we need to identify who is it that you are trying to get into the room. And be as specific as you can. So, who are they? Where are they? How old are they? What do they care about? What are their aspirations or goals? What keeps them up at night? What are you trying to, can you know about them that you can actually use to connect with them and really start building that relationship? And then for each separate attendee type, if there's more than one, usually there is, usually you can be quite specific. Articulate every single piece of value that they will get out of this event. So it might not be, they're going to learn about my new product. Well, why should they care about that product? Well, they should care because that's going to automate their work processes, and that's going to save them time, and that's going to save them money. So, think through what is the value that you're adding. It might be that they get to network with other people who are interested in property development, or they get to be able to meet other women in the area who are interested in self-care. So really kind of articulate all of those benefits out for every single segment that you want to attend this event. And there might be different ones and different combinations for each type of segment. And then what we want to do is, how do we reach them? Because we know who they are now. Through thinking this through, we might have an idea of how to connect with them. You know, where do they hang out? Are they, you know, if they're young people, you might want to think about TikTok. Are they a professional audience? You're going to want to think about LinkedIn. You know, really think through for each of your segments, where are the fish? Somebody once said to me, fish where the fish are in marketing. You could go out into the wide ocean and throw out a net, but you might not get the right fish and you might not get any fish at all. But if you know where the fish are, you just drop a line and then you can catch the exact type of fish that you're after. So you really want to think about that and think about your value proposition as the bait. So you need to understand who they are and what they like, what they want to eat, so that you can actually get that fish where the fish are, catch the right fish. But when you're reaching attendees, there are kind of two types. There's the type that you know, or you can contact already. You've got introductions to, or you've got, you know, relationships with, or you already know their how to contact them. And then you've got your new contacts. So, you know, current and past customers, or current and past attendees at other events that you've run, current and past prospects, and then other networks, like who are your business partners? Who are the presenters and their networks? Do you have sponsors for this event? Who are their networks? So those are all people that you can be reaching kind of through warm relationships. Things like email marketing, so really segmented to their value proposition. Direct mail, don't forget direct mail. It still works for a lot of different types of organizations. I know I recently did something with schools, and sending actual physical collateral to the principal made a big difference, because they're not getting as much in the mail anymore. And then with everyone, social media, so organic, if you're just posting to your pages, trying to get people to share your content and really amplify what you're trying to do. You can think about paid social media advertising, again, being really specific to who you're trying to reach. Any other digital advertising. So we've often found, again, fish where the fish are. If we were trying to reach a certain type of people, in this case that I'm thinking about, it was IT managers, CIOs and IT managers. So we went to CIO Magazine. They offer a whole digital marketing package. We could get a banner on the website. We got to send them an email directly to all of their subscribers. Now, that was exactly our target market. So don't just think a bit more broadly, not just social media, but think a bit more broadly about how you can reach these people. And then don't forget digital advertising, especially if you've got a geographically limited space. So if you were trying to get people along to an open day of a school, as an example, and you have a distinct catchment area, really think about a letterbox drop in those areas, because a beautifully presented piece of collateral can work wonders if you have a very specific geographic area. And during COVID, all the research out of the UK shows that was the biggest change in ROI in marketing, was people actually, because they're bored of being in front of their screens all day, working from home, actually getting something interesting, physically beautiful to touch, beautifully designed, that actually had a huge ROI in the UK during COVID. So don't forget old-fashioned marketing as well as digital, even if you're trying to do a digital event. Okay, so in terms of the promotion, and I'm starting with one of the big questions that everyone always asks, which is, well, how much should I spend on promotion? And it's how long is a piece of string is genuinely the answer. The reason why I've put 5 to 10% is that is your marketing typical, rule of thumb. If a business is spending about 5% of their revenue on marketing, they will continue to grow slowly over time. If they're spending closer to 10%, they're going to start really taking off. So that's kind of a marketing rule of thumb, been proven over years and years and years and years and years of marketing research across all different sizes of businesses and all different sizes of different industries. It's kind of one of those aphorisms. With events, obviously, you don't necessarily know what your it's not about a business, it's about a specific event, and you might not run it very often. But either think about, well, of my event budget, I'm going to put 5 or 10% into promotion, or think about the value. If it's a free event, think about the value of your projected return. So if you think you're going to be getting people along because you want to sell to them, think about how much you're aiming to sell, what the value of that is, and use your 5 to 10% on that value, projected return. So again, this is very much a finger in the air, but that's kind of how I try to think about budget. In terms of timing, if you can, a minimum of 6 weeks out, starting the promotion. And the reason why I say 6 weeks is it's really hard to get into people's diaries. It also allows you to build momentum. There's another marketing thing that says you need to see a brand 7 times before you'll buy. You may have sent out an email, people will see you on social media, and it'll be a while before they actually end up buying. So the earlier you can get in, the better. And that goes also into pricing considerations. So again, depending on the type of event, you may want to charge. I've found some events work better if you even have a nominal charge, because people value it if they've had to get some skin in the game. But the other thing that you can think about, and really, if you possibly can, do some kind of early bird benefit. Now, that might not be price if you're not charging for the event, but it could be, you know, register before this date and you'll get a one-on-one time with one of the presenters, or you'll get a specific exclusive access to an asset after the event. Really think about early bird. The reason why that's so important is one of the things people miss out. Every single person who registers for an event is a new marketing channel, because they've all got networks and they probably know other people like themselves. So when you're thinking about promotion, the earlier you can get people on board, the more people you can access through their networks as well. So really important to try and push early. And that kind of leads us to the comms plan. And some people call it a comms plan. I call it a comms plan. It could be the marketing strategy. It's the plan for how are you going to promote this thing. And I do it at least a 3-month calendar, with the event actually happening about a month before the end of the calendar. So 2 months before, month afterwards. And you want to think about how are you going to promote this through all your different channels over time. So where do you end your early bird? How are you going to promote it before your early bird ends? After that, how are you going to build FOMO? How are you going to build anticipation? How are you selling using those different value propositions to all of those different audience segments? What's the messaging that you're going to use in each one? So you're really considering your audience segmentation and those personas. You're thinking about the channels. Where are they hanging out? Where am I going to reach them? Where are the fish when I'm fishing? Think about rhythm. If you start early enough, you can actually learn from when you put out stuff on social media or advertise, you can actually see when are people responding most, and you change up your schedule so that you're actually maximizing and optimizing for that engagement. Think about creative. Now, you know, there is so much stuff going on in digital. You really want to have something that's going to stand out. Again, with that, you need to see a brand 7 times. You want people to recognize, oh yeah, I saw that before, that looked interesting. Maybe I should look a bit further this time. So make sure you've got something that is consistent over time, whether it's eye-catching imagery, bright colors, a blue banana, whatever it is. You want something that is going to jog people's memory, and is going to, if they haven't already registered, that will go, oh yeah, I meant to do that. Think about your customer journey. So how are people registering, and what are you sending them after they've registered? So that could be information about how they access it. You could send them a pack of stuff so that they can post on social media with a really cool, funky graphic saying they're coming along. You're accessing their networks. reminders over time. And how many times have we not got an email, registered for something? I know I'm guilty of this all the time, not putting it in my diary. And then the day before the event, I get the reminder and I go, bloody hell, I've actually booked something else in that time. So regular reminders, hey, this is now in 2 weeks, but here's a bit of interesting information. So don't just make it a reminder, make it a, here's the value. Hey, we're going to be talking about this. Let's spotlight that presenter. So think about how you build that FOMO over time as well. Talking of social proof, if you have actually run this event before and you've got testimonials, use them. If you don't have testimonials about yourself, or sorry, about the event, make it testimonials about your knowledge, make it the presenter's knowledge. You want to build the sense that, wow, these people are experts and you can absolutely, you will be getting value out of this. And then accelerate towards the end, do a countdown. You've got 7 days to register. Tomorrow's your last day to register. Today is register by midnight or you're going to miss out. Like really build that sense of this is a really important date you need to get on board. And then think about your post-event communications. And I know we're going to hear a bit more about that later, but make sure you're gathering feedback. Use assets that you've developed for the event online, whether it is a video or whether it is the presentation or whether it is, you know, you have a question and answer session. You can get somebody noting that down and then create an infographic, like use assets that you've developed to build relationships. Maybe somebody had a question during the session, reach out to them afterwards and say, did you get that answered? Let's have a chat. So you want to use it to build information and accentuate the lack of missing out. So that's my new word, LOMO, lack of missing out. You got all of this stuff. You got the early bird thing. You got this, look at all of this value. Look how much everyone is talking about this. So all of that stuff needs to go into this 3-month plan. So think about all of those things. But then once you've got the plan, be prepared for it to change because some things might work better than others. You know, we might have a sudden a flood. You do not want to be promoting sunny holidays if you have a sudden flood. You don't want to be, you know, you just got to be aware of how you do this. And also in that plan, put any big days. So Anzac Day, International Women's Day, International Men's Day, whatever it is, put the national days, because if you can craft your communications to be part of that conversation, a wider conversation, you're also then expanding your reach. So those are all the things that I think about in my comms plan. And then we start. And that's my very quick, how to build event anticipation and engagement with marketing beforehand. Anyone got any questions? Is that, or do we wait till the end? Ben, what's the plan?
No, this is perfect. Thank you so much, Sybil, for this. And actually, speaking of LOMO, Mary actually asked about what does WIFT mean, or WIFT, or however you say it.
What's in it for them? So WIIT. I've lost my words. What's in it for T? What's in it for them? So think about it with your attendee hat on. What are they going to get out of it? And it might not necessarily be the things that you are wanting. You could be wanting them to come along and learn about property investing, but actually what's in it for them is that they will also make contact with property developers. So, you know, that might not be the main reason for your event, but that's an additional benefit that they'll get out of it. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Sybil? Mind you, we will also have a bit of a thing at the end there too. So feel free to either throw them in the chat or throw your hand up and so on. But thank you so much, Sybil, for that. And again, so that is Atomic Tangerine. So the link is in the chat. Feel free to click on said link and get in touch with Sybil. It will help out tremendously. Now, I must say, I've actually known my friend Rowena Bale for quite a while, who's here from Sprinter, and I want to actually learn a bit more about Sprinter as well.
Let's not talk about how many years, because that will age us. So
it will. I mean, you got to look at the wrinkles I've got. But I actually, you know, despite knowing Rowena for quite a while, I've not had a chance really to dive in deep about what you do with Sprinter and all the sort of work you've done, especially in the last 2 years, considering the amount of event knowledge you actually have. So, go ahead, Rowena.
All righty then. Well, I'll just share my screen so that you can just see our website there. yeah, I don't have a presentation, as did the lovely Sybil, but I'm just going to talk to you here today and talk about, I guess, first of all, who Sprinter is. And the easiest way to talk about that is we are event technology brokers. So we did start off with event technology 5 years ago. For on-site live events, and then obviously, as been alluded to, the last 2 years have been in a massive acceleration in learning about virtual events and things like that. So we partner with actually quite a number of platforms. I think we have access to about 6 at this point in time. They all offer very different features because, as you would have seen with your own virtual events, different audiences, different things. So obviously everybody knows Zoom and Teams, etc., like that. But we work with a lot of partner platforms that go with a bigger range to really bring that event feel. And we'll do things like live Q&A sections, and you'll have whole, as I keep referring to, the platforms, they're like websites, but the idea is you can go into different sessions and follow different agendas. So very much like a live event where you might be presented with several different rooms and you can go to different topics in the same way our partners do. So really exciting stuff there. And what we're finding now is hybrid is really coming to play because, you know, not only just the WA border reopening recently, but as we were all mentioning actually earlier amongst ourselves, we were having a chat about the fact that COVID numbers are rising. So people aren't able to go to work or go to an event. And so they're asking for a virtual ticket. And so more and more we're finding the people we work with, and those clients range from all kinds of different industries and whatnot. But those attendees going to those events are actually demanding a virtual ticket. So whilst they may have the event live, they also have it in the virtual form. So it's really exciting, some stuff in there. For myself, so I'm an event manager originally. Well, actually, I'm a graphic designer originally, but then I moved into event management. And so I've been doing that for a number of years, let's say. And so my background's very much the live event itself. And then now making the transition to helping people deliver virtual events on there. So what I was going to talk about today was a little bit sort of like, I guess, the secret sauce of the virtual event and bringing it to line. And I think the key thing for us is what we've learned over the last 2 years is virtual events is very much has a great advantage over live is that you can make it like a TV production. And I say this quite a lot because what it is that you end up actually being able to deliver something very polished. Unlike a live event where people quite often will use that for engagement, you know, catch up over coffee breaks and go to the gala dinner and hide the photos later and things like that. The virtual event attendance is very much about your content. So what is it, the message that they need to receive? And it could be something like learning for continued professional development, or it could be, you know, learning about your new product or anything like that, to also exchanging ideas, but very much it's about the content. And all of a sudden, what we may have got away in a live event where we had people locked up in a room and they couldn't escape because no one wants to stand up and be seen as that one person walking out of the room mid-speech, is that on a virtual side of things, they can just leave. They have a choice now, and they will if your content's not good enough. And one of the key things is your content could be good enough, but maybe the message is being interrupted because a speaker's having issues with internet connection or can't get slides to work or anything like that. And all of a sudden it's just a too hard basket and they leave. So what we try and do is when we work with clients to deliver their virtual events is very much look at it from a TV production side. So lots of stuff happening in the background, but the person behind the screen there doesn't need to know either way what's happening. So very much like, and then to that point, I guess, is that we often use pre-records or pre-recordings. And the idea is that there might be a opening piece by the facilitator who introduces a speaker. It goes to a video, and then that person comes on screen and enters Q&A. And unbeknownst to the audience, that session that was presented was a pre-recorded session. And what it means is it just goes really smoothly that way. So there's no interruptions and whatnot. The AV provider can do some nice things with mixing. So they might have what's called picture in picture. And that's where you might see the presentation and then someone's head in the screen, which I think you might be looking at now. But like it could be more incorporated into different backgrounds and things like that. So then it's, you know, and the presenter is wearing the same clothing with the same background, but it just means that doesn't matter what happens on the day. Someone decides to do, just today speaking to a client who asked our meeting to be moved because their neighbours decided to do construction and working from home. So you don't have to worry about all those external factors. It's a nice, smooth show, and the message has got across, and so the attendees can watch that uninterrupted and absorb that content. What if the speaker's presentation's not any good? That's another story. And it also gives them a few times to try it out again too. If it's pre-recorded, they can polish that up. Because what you have to remember is it's really hard. If you've ever had to speak in a virtual event, you don't have any feedback from, I mean, at least if an audience, if someone's yawning, you know you need to get that a little bit better, but no feedback from an audience can be quite daunting for a lot of presenters, and people do actually get really nervous doing it. I have a story where unfortunately one person wasn't able to do a pre-record or a rehearsal, and he came online and was having a few troubles trying to work out how to share screen, and this and that was happening. And he said, "I'm sorry, I can't do this," and left the session, left altogether. And unfortunately, we had a fantastic MC on there who was able to just explain it away to technical issues, and they moved on to the next panel member, and it was quite easy. But that person just got a bundle of nerves, which wasn't really presented. So there's that. So it is very much about making it a TV production, because you don't want that message interrupted. And unlike live, where things can go wrong, you can actually have full control of that. So really good. But speaking of the MC, that's another really important role to bring over from the live events. All kinds of things happen. There might be, you might have a speaker that goes a little rogue and says something that wasn't on the cards, but also just to create a little bit of a light and the story, the narrative, the show per se. We had one session with, we all might be aware of a state health minister down south who was really well noted for being quite good looking. And so the MC was a friend of his. And so he made a bit of a banter, and the questions were coming in on the side and they weren't seen by the audience. And there wasn't the question about whether or not the particular person was single, but the MC made a thing of it. And there was a little bit of banter back and forth, and the feedback surveys that came back for that session was just how engaging it was. They said it was like watching, what's it called today? You know, the morning shows, and that's exactly right. So that was a very dry subject that they were going through, COVID regulations and whatnot, but this was, people enjoyed the session because they were watching a show kind of thing. Great MC there. What's another thing on there? So you can also do things with an MC. Some platforms actually have the ability to have a feed come through. So you might have been to an event before and heard something what we call in the AV world as voice of God. And that's a person booming over the speaker to tell you that morning tea is going to be served in 5 minutes, and you watch the rush to the coffee carts. So in the same way, the live event can have the same idea. And different platforms offer different features, and an MC can come across and say, don't forget, we've got this session, or the competition that we're running is closing soon, and things like that. And it just encourages more engagement than in the session. So it's really good like that. In speaking of interaction, is also make sure maybe one of your members of staff is actually in the session as well, and they're answering Q&A as Ben has been doing in this one, because there will be people asking questions in there and things like that. So just making sure that there's someone there to always be talking. And also if it is viable for your event, is social media, making sure that, you know, we just had so-and-so speaking, you know, we said Rowena from Sprinter speaking about the secret sauce to your virtual event. Are you missing out? Register here, things like that. So it's ongoing on. You can also have things like some platforms allow you to have kind of a social media within the platform. So it's restricted to those going to the event itself. So it could be that there's one platform that allows you to upload photos. So we have one client who is known for their show us your co-worker photos. And so absolutely beautiful photos of cats and dogs and whatnot, some of them in costume, showing up in that. And so there's quite a lot of engagement in that. So it's really good. And other thing is technical difficulties, moving content. So you know when you turn your TV on, you'll see something happening, you know it's working. And people kind of tend to be like that as well with this whole new technology going on. So as we had at the beginning, there was that slide up. So we knew we were in the right agenda, we knew we were in the right session. And sometimes you might make that a moving piece, so a video, or you can make sure that there's sound on there. And that cuts back a lot of people's fears, because the first thing they do is they want to come in and they want to check, am I in the right place? Is it working? All that kind of thing. And that video with some sound is a nice, easy way for them to go, I got it. And you can cut down on your help desk in there. So actually, help desk is another thing, is if quite a lot of different platforms will offer a feature where you can have people sitting in there to answer those kind of technical questions. But you could be as simple as, if you have a chat feature, again, having a staff member in there to be able to help people for things like registration links, or I can't get my camera to work, and sound, etc., like that. So just thinking what else. So agenda, I guess moving into that. So your agenda should be, again, thinking of live versus virtual. You do want snippets of information. You can only hold people's attention for so long, and also acknowledging that they might not be connecting, I should say, from their office type of thing. So, lots of work from home things going on with deliveries or things like that. So make your sessions nice and short and sharp. So half an hour is probably maximum, sometimes 45 minutes, depending on the interactivity involved in there. And what you can do is actually schedule in your agenda breaks, so that people aren't sitting there for 3 hours at a time. Might be 3 different sessions, but that's still a long time for them to be sitting there, and they work better with interaction. You can also schedule those breaks with disruption. So you might put in a quick quiz of some sort, a yoga session. We've got an event this week that have got 2 yoga sessions put in, and so they're encouraging everyone to follow along, turn their cameras off so there's no one on show, and just following the yoga session to get them up and stretching and moving. So that can be quite fun. Or you might just have a magician, something really short and sharp, or a TED talk, or a skit, or a comedy, anything just to disrupt, break it up, let them loose. If they want to attend the session, they can, or they can move on, just nice and short and sharp that way. Content. So you might do things like, some really cool ideas is what we've seen is, depending on your budget and numbers, but people have done an Uber Eats vouchers. So if the session's going over at lunchtime, there was a lunch and learn. And so what they did, they surprised all the delegates with a Uber Eats voucher, which is just electronic. So no postal address needed, et cetera, et cetera. And then that meant all the attendees could actually then order in lunch and attend the lunch and learn. And actually a good number of them were coming from offices, it seemed to be. But what it made for them is it encouraged them to give up that lunch hour to actually attend this lunch and learn. So it was quite a good success, and they were mightily pleased with the Uber Eats voucher. So that's an idea on them. What I was thinking of, speakers. So then looking into content. So making sure your speakers have time before they join you to do tech checks, making sure you can hear them, they can hear you, their lighting is adequate, and they've got no other interference. Things like Bluetooth headphones, if they're slightly coming into low battery mode, they will often cut out much earlier than you would think so. So it's making sure that they've got full fresh batteries in there, they can be heard, there's no additional thing. Or if they're using a laptop camera, sometimes the feedback on those can be quite prominent. So just 15 minutes prior to a session is a great idea to make sure they're coming in and they're well equipped. There's nothing distracting behind them, and the rest of them just good rehearsal, gets them comfortable and available to go through on there. And then after, so it's always a good idea to have recordings made of your virtual event. They can be distributed in all kinds of different channels. Maybe you have a platform that you can have people access it. So maybe they missed the morning session, they can come back and watch it. Or you can use it in marketing campaigns, as Sybil alluded to, where it's great content to pull up people. You can have them hosted in another section in a members only area, or they sign up for a certain other offer, and as an additional thing they get access to these videos. So content is just fantastic to record. You can tidy it up if you need to with some editing afterwards, and then use it for materials on there. And also feedback surveys. So I think we've seen feedback surveys kind of losing their popularity in live events over the couple of years, like, oh, we'll hear about it, or maybe you put it in an app or something. But they're actually really important, because what we're finding is being able to differentiate between, was the content, was there something that you needed to hear about, or did you have technical issues and things like that, or wasn't explained to you that we could build better for next time? And the more feedback you get, the better and better your virtual events come, because you get all those nice and lovely learnings from everybody. So on there. Was there anything else I had on my thing? No, that's more or less it, really. But if anyone has any particular questions for me, I'd love to hear them.
I feel like, Mary, we should definitely you're not a person who hasn't been on camera before, so I'm actually have to call you out. I know Mary, by the way. So Mary, you got a couple of questions I'm going to throw to you. That's okay. We'll go with that. There's actually an issue. So the MC just threw it and the Mary was not expecting it, and therefore she's gone, oh my God, I got to find the thing. And
So to find the button.
You're good, Mary, go ahead.
Yes, so that was really interesting, Rowena. I'd just like to see, is there like a video or something like that showing an overview of what you offer?
Oh, right. There is a few marketing videos, but what actually I can do is put together I can share some marketing materials that have a bit more of an explanation on those things. I understand Karen will be sharing something with everybody after this event, so they can do a nice summary, and also all of those tips I can put on in a nice article for you. So.
Okay, thank you. And then I quite like the idea of the yoga providers. That might be something that I could explore, like helping at an event by providing some downtime.
Yeah.
How can you be found as someone that might be able to offer that?
Oh, okay. So we haven't sourced those ourselves. Our clients have usually done that, but from what I understand, they're just yoga instructors who are happy to be on screen. I think we've all seen Fitness First, for example. All of their instructors have now been requested to have been holding online classes. So there's quite some of them are really good at it. Some of them, okay. So it's an idea about finding that normal yoga instructor that is able to and willing to provide that service. So usually only about 10 or 15 minute sessions, and anyone who's done that before are quite good at it. So, but as I understand it, our clients have just found those yoga instructors who have adapted, pivoted, the key word, and done it successfully. So.
Thank you.
No problem.
All good. And actually, I'm just going to say, I know that New South Wales Department of Education schools, the most popular provider about 10 years ago was Yoga with Kim. And Yoga with Kim was highly subscribed right across the state. You had thousands of kids all doing yoga. So don't discount what Rowena's saying in any way. Thanks very much, Rowena. Much appreciated. We definitely will hang out in the panel chat towards the end. There's a few things I want to unpack there too. But for now, I actually want to throw, if I may, to Mark, who will definitely be going through. So you've done the event and you're presenting about what it is, perhaps your bricks and mortar business, but how do you make that engaging? What if they actually go to your website during your online live presentation and it's static and they can't find stuff? And it's right. Mark sorts this problem out. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. So thanks for having me on, Ben, and everyone. And I should, by the way, Rowena, I was, as you're presenting your stuff, I used to be a master of ceremonies for functions. I was a DJ. So believe you me, rescuing MCs, done that, having plan B. I'm listening to you go tick, tick, tick. And in fact, I'm going through that today. Literally, just Ben was checking with me. My laptop just died and I'm running on battery and I have no power. Osgrid shut down today. So I'm on plan B and I've got plan C. My phone's right over there. So there you go. So absolutely, these are the kinds of things that you're talking about that are absolutely true that we do need to be aware of in the world, whether it be virtual events or real events. And the reason why I'm here to chat with you folks today is more having to do with the work that I do. I run two businesses. One of them is called Central Coast Digital Media, which is primarily a content creation platform company. We're a collaborative group where we've got photographers, videographers, anything that's content creation, because often what happens in the world of content creation, including podcasts or even doing Zoom or whatever the case might be, technology tends to get in the way when people need to do this. And they're looking for answers as to what microphone should I buy? How do I set it up? Are the acoustics in the room I'm using right now, which by the way, the acoustics in this room are horrible. I'm using a better microphone. Hopefully that doesn't sound too bad for you. But the whole idea is you want to make sure that all of these things are looked after the best possible way if you're going to be doing it on a regular basis. So that's what Central Coast Digital Media does. But the primary product and service that I provide, it is still the core of what I do, is I'm actually a Google Street View virtual tour photographer. And what that means is that you can think of me as the peg man going inside of a business, just like on Street View, but going inside. And how does that work into the world of virtual functions and virtual events? Is that, and the conversation recently really had the aha for me with a fellow I met on an online call. He runs meetups all over the world. He absolutely refuses to organize a meetup if there wasn't already a virtual tour shot of the property, of the premises, so that he can go and personally investigate if it's going to be a good fit for the group he's going to be inviting to that physical location. He won't even look at them. Okay. So think of that from a point of view of the fact that in the world of virtual, you're actually often what you're doing is actually preparing for the real. And it might be vice versa too. You got to think about both ways, because there's going to be times when there's a group of people in person who are going to be going to an event. But is there a place, space, or way for those who can't attend to have access to some form of virtual connectivity? Thinking of those things. So the 3 steps of the work that I do is, it starts with be first found. So be found, then it's be seen, and then be trusted. All right. So the first be found, it starts with directory listings, making sure your business is findable and actually list the services that you provide. So if you're a cafe, restaurant, office, a co-working space, and you offer services that include virtual event hosting or management, you got to tell them, make a deal out of it, and showcase how you do it. Don't just basically, put a single bullet point. That may be enough. You may not be enough. You want to be able to share a little bit more about that. So hiring someone who actually provides the services of creating this kind of content. And by the way, virtual tours published on Google Maps, you do actually have to be Google Street View trusted as I am to publish those. It's not anyone can do that. You can't just go out and buy a camera and publish a virtual tour and add it on to Google Maps yourself. So you have to reach out to people who are certified by the program to do that. And the costs are relatively inexpensive when you consider the value that it brings to your business. So that's the first be found and the be seen, right? So we're tying those two now. And the other thing with the whole be seen thing is, remember that the world of virtual, you're actually going to disconnect one of the 3 key senses. Which one is that? It's touch, right? So when you disconnect touch, you really have to leverage the auditory, the sound, and the visual. Okay, so that's all you've got left. I mean, the kinesthetic, you're not going to get either. Okay, so you really have to think about, what am I going to do to engage as much as I possibly can? So make sure you've got lots of visual content. After the fact, someone was mentioning earlier about photography or screenshots or sharing content or having, interlude content. I'll give you an example of, I'll be doing a quick screen share to show you the kind of work that I do, so you understand how this actually works in the context of this. But really, you have to think about, what have you got in terms of content that's actually engaging, and also allowing people to personally engage with that content. If it is not Web 3.0, and I'll explain very quickly what Web 3.0 simply means, is it means the decentralized web. It means the ability of you connecting with the people and not requiring something in between too much. That's what Web 3.0 really is. It's not that much more complicated than that. This whole thing of the metaverse, it's been around since 2012. Some of us probably, I don't know, Ben, about you, but I started using WebEx in 2003. This is not new, right? So we all know these things, but for those who are uncomfortable with it, they're just not tech savvy, it's our duty, as people who are more comfortable in the space, do a little hand holding, say, it's okay, we're going to take care of these things. But for people to be open to the idea of testing and trying these things out and using them. So the be seen element, really, it's this also be heard, but be seen. It's the audio and the video experience. And I'm a big believer, obviously, no surprise, that virtual tours of premises where events are actually being held, because of course, virtual is really important, but in person is really important too. And whenever we can actually converge those two, you want to be able to promote those locations as much as you possibly can. All right. And the last one is be trusted. And be trusted is all about building up the testimonials, the reviews, the support, all of that stuff that people often forget. And remember the simple thing that when people are happy, what do? They say, thank you very much. And they go make dinner. They don't think about you until the next event, right? Or they have a glass of wine and say, oh, that was really cool, to their husband or wife or significant other. And then it's all over. So you as an event operator need to reach back out and say, thank you very much for coming to our event. We'd love to hear your feedback on how it was for you. What was your experience like? And to use the words feedback and experience, because that's when you actually get away from saying asking for a review, because that starts to sound a little corny, right? We all know that. We don't want to go down that path. We want to think in terms of how do we actually get the truth about what it was like. And then as part of that, and if they ask for that experience and feedback on platforms that are public in nature, such as Google reviews or LinkedIn, you can get a testimonial there. Those are great places for people to be able to have a much better idea of what it's really like to actually participate. Remember that those pieces of content, if it's done properly, can then be part of your marketing. So you can then use the review marketing basically as a tool. So let's just say that you held a business event. It was probably maybe a product launch. Let's just say you're doing a product launch online and people have attended the product launch. They're really excited. They really want to be able to buy that product or service. And you send them a request for feedback. The feedback comes back. And let's say that it was someone who was a retailer that might actually retail that product. Wouldn't it be cool to be able to say, isn't it wonderful to hear such fantastic news from so-and-so retailer? You're giving their name in the content and you're actually promoting them, not you, them. It's not about you, it's about them, right? Because that's how they're going to tell their friends and say, hey, you really got to come to the next event because it's really cool. These guys are a lot of fun. That's how the life circle works. So remember that there's this 3 simple steps. They're really quite simple. Be found, make sure that you're telling everyone where you are, what you're doing. Be findable in terms of if you have an event that's happening, make sure you repeat. People need to hear it over and over and over again. I'm actually hosting 2 events right now. I'm one of the co-hosts and co-founders of LinkedIn Local here on the Central Coast. I'm also part of Wild Fig Service Alliance. So I do a lot of these things. And a lot of them are in person, but we also do a lot of online too. And we have to keep telling everyone over and over again. So please don't forget, it's not a one-shot thing. Just because you told them once, it doesn't work. Little tip. In the world of sales, and I come from a long background, I used to train financial planners in Canada, just so you know. So where's the accent coming from? It's from Northern Ontario. It's a simple thing. Remember this sales technique. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them, right? And do it over and over again. All right. Chances are people will remember you a lot more and you'll actually be able to go through that be found, be seen, and be trusted process. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at mark@workpicks.com or email me or send me a chat message. If you just type in my name, literally, I'll just come up. I'm easily found online.
Thanks so much, mate. And
okay,
considering that's actually your job, we would absolutely do. And actually, it was crazy easy. I did exactly that. I grabbed Bark out of Google real fast, and I found the 2 links that are sitting in your chat right now. And it actually reminds me of what Rowena was talking about with using the recordings. Is that that content, it needs to be useful, findable, and hopefully the chat is recorded and you can actually get out to people too. So let's throw it out to everyone. Is there any questions for Mark, considering about, I mean, even if it's not for your particular business, maybe you know friends, family, relatives, all those sort of people who might benefit from what Mark knows when it comes to making bricks and mortar businesses shine. In the meantime, Mark, I was just wondering, you were describing to me while people think about a question, the tourism park up near Newcastle. Yeah, that was an interesting thing we had a chat about a little while ago.
Yeah, the walkabout park. Yes. Yeah. In fact, actually, if you guys want to see that, I can actually show that. Let me just pull it up for you. I'm actually gonna walk. There it is. We're gonna bring that up on screen, and then I'm going to screen share. Let's go back here. So you'll get an idea of what you can actually do in the world of. Tell me when you see this, folks. Is this coming up?
It's coming through and you're up.
Okay, cool. So you're going to see there's this tour of, this is actually a drone photo of the Australia Wildlife Walkabout Park. And what I actually create with this kind of content is, and by the way, just so you know, this is actually visible in VR. So if you wanted to wear a VR headset, you can actually see it in there. And this is all published using Google Maps as a hosting system. But if you actually wanted to go down and you were going to say, look, we'd love to have an event, but it's going to be an overnighter. We want cabins. We need cabins. Well, guess what? These people have cabins. So let's go down and check out the cabins. Now you actually can go down and see what the cabins look like. All right. And if you want a description of what happens here, we have little hotspots that you can bring up that'll have information, right? So this is the way that you can actually create extra content to keep people engaged. All right. This one over here is a kids content version. So this over here will bring up a video most likely. So I can actually use audio, video. This is basically, so play a little video over here that talks about how you can actually engage with this walkabout park. So that's an example of the kind of stuff that the 360 world can provide you. And remember that essentially this is where the world's going. This is where Web 3.0 is going. So imagine where, and one of the functions that I actually created, and I won't be able to show to you because it's actually timed based. We actually had to shut it down. We actually created a business networking event that used 360 content. It was the platform whereby essentially you could imagine where each one of these menu items is somebody's booth. And you actually can go to that person's booth and have a conversation with them, because inside that booth, you got a 360 tour and a Zoom call directly with them. All right. Isn't that kind of cool? But all hosted on one common platform. So you imagine having a virtual business networking event where you've got, 20 businesses in Melbourne, 3 in Sydney, 4 in Perth, 2 in Hobart, all coming together at the same time on the same platform. That's what you can do with 360 content as a platform, because it gives you context and then you can link them all back in together. Does that help?
Tremendously.
Cool.
Definitely. Yeah, because that's the thing. I actually 100% know. I'll come on back on screen because that would be helpful. But the that was, well, no, Mark, I really want you to involve in this chat because it does remind me of it. Absolutely. So I'm just going to throw out again if anyone has any questions to Mark. But of course, go to workpicked.com. And why not go to Central Coast Digital Media? You need to know a bit more about that. But look, much appreciated. So I might throw it over to Karen. I'm just wondering if you might have any questions, because you often do in lots of ways.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, it's been fabulous to listen to everyone this afternoon. And, as Ben and I from Virtual Excursions Australia, but also as small businesses, I've got some really valuable insight from all of our speakers today as well. So thank you all for joining us. And I think there were a few questions earlier in the chat, so maybe we can open it up to everyone for our last few minutes, and we can have a bit of a panel, so a bit of a discussion. Yes, Mary.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed all the presentations. And my question was to Sybil about, being early on in the business, what she thought would be a good way of getting started. And I was suggesting maybe brainstorming what kind of event might be good and those kind of things, because probably not that far ahead with all the things, some of the suggestions made today.
What sort of business do you have, Mary?
I'm running nature connection forest therapy walks.
Okay, and so who are your audience? Like, who's your target audience?
I'm looking at people that are on their screens a lot and feeling disconnected and stressed. Health issues. Someone who wants to find a new way of getting outdoors. And
where are you based?
In the northern part of Sydney. Yeah.
Okay. So is this something that people travel for, or do you tend to just have people from your local area?
On the weekend, I had people travel, maybe 20 Ks to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there any specific kind of age groups that it's more appropriate for?
It seems to be appealing to older people. I mean, I'm getting people in their 40s, but sometimes they're 50 plus.
Okay.
And that includes me.
Never. One of the things that we're finding with older demographics is Facebook is kind of one of their main online kind of socializing places. I know, my 70-year-old mother is, God, she's not even 70, she's 80 now. My 80-year-old mother is on Facebook all day. So I would really be thinking about, even if when you're running them, ask if it's okay to just say, using your experience, Mark, your question, which I loved, could you give me feedback on your experience? And just film short things and start putting those up. tag the people who are in them. They will then share them with their friends. Again, you're starting to use their networks to amplify the message. So I would be doing that. I would be using video content if you can, because I'm going to guess that there is a lot of beauty and, you know, people will get joy from that. So if you can show how beautiful it is, you get that fear of missing out. You know, people, if they don't go, they can't get it. So I would be starting to do that from an organic perspective, just really showcasing how much people love it. So that's social proof, and also what they're missing out on, which is that beautiful kind of experience. So think about what they're getting out of it. So they might be meeting other people who are like them, you know, so that you're going to attract people who are like them. They're going to be having this incredible grounding experience in the forest. They're going to be, you know, have benefits for their mental health. You know, so start thinking about all of the benefits for that particular group and seeing if you can capture that in video feedback, and then start using that on channels like Facebook. That would be kind of my initial thoughts. And Mark and Rowena, jump in if you've got any other thoughts.
Mary, I find my suggestion, one of the ideas, and I'm really supportive with you, Sybil, on this, because this is one of the most critical ways to try to get people engaged. And in the world of creating video content, don't be too worried as much about the video quality. In fact, try, and if you can, if at all possible, and if you're looking for advice, more than happy to provide you with some ideas on this, but the creating good audio of being in the forest is probably even, well, audio makes good video, which is a basic rule of the world of video. But when you're dealing with wonderful sounds of birds and chirping, and the fact that even having a moment where you say, listen to this, and there's absolutely nothing, and that's what you actually focus on, is on the quiet. Okay.
I love that idea. Beautiful.
Yeah. And yeah, completely agree. And that is one of the things that we'll be talking about next week in the training, is about audio. And it was great to hear that, Mark, because one of our members is a bit of an audio expert, and we come across this all the time. It doesn't matter about how great your video is, if they can't hear you and there's no audio, then you've got nothing. So yeah, that's great. And of course, Mary, the sounds that you capture when you are in those moments of nature, whether it is the active sounds of the wildlife or the quiet that they can achieve as well. I think that's wonderful.
Awesome. So I thought, I might go quickly around the room and just throw a Rowena up in here as well. So if you had one takeaway tip per person, if we're going to walk away with something and that'd be useful, well, I feel like that we should probably go through that. So I'm going to go, seeing that I've grabbed Rowena and threw her into this. So Rowena, if you had one takeaway thing, the one thing that would matter if you got to speak with someone about running an online event to the masses, what would you say?
Take advantage of the virtual scent and make your TV show something stellar.
Love it. Stellar thoughts. Awesome. Sybil.
Think about your audience. What do they care about? What do they want? What do they want to learn? Put their hat on and really think through what they would get out of your event, and then use that when you're talking to them, communicating.
Mark.
It's so important to make sure that you're focused on the experience. In the end, that's really what it is. Every event that we host for any of the organizations that I belong to, the thing that people walk away from the most is they come back to us because of the experience, because that's where you build trust. That's where you build return. So it's more about building that, creating an experience that really shows that you really, really care. You know that old adage of people don't care how much you know, but they do know how much you care, right? Remember that one.
Love that. And Karen, you've got a lot of experience in this. I might throw to you on that too a little bit. What's the one thing would you say running a virtual event that matters?
Oh, I really have taken something away from everyone today. And I really think that idea of knowing your audience, but also knowing that the experience that you want to create, what are you good at? So, being personal from my business, Australian Environmental Education, I'm a storyteller. So I connect with my audience because I tell them stories about what I've experienced. So it is really lovely and personal. You know, oh, I saw this fish when I was scuba diving, or this is what's in my backyard. And it makes that really sort of intimate connection. So from my perspective, that's, yeah, I like to tell stories and make it feel personal. And that's where my audience comes back over and over, because they know there's a lot of authenticity in that.
Awesome. So guess what? Next week, 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Is it what? No, it's changed real soon. Wednesday, there is definitely a session where Karen and I are going to really go into the real tricks and tips and all the things that actually matter when it comes to running live engagement, actually trying to break this two-dimensional wall that we are all currently staring at and making it somewhat useful in some way, shape, or form. But thank you again, Rowena, Sybil, Mark, Karen, and by the way, Karen, Kylie, Mary, thank you for hanging out with us throughout this entire time. Really have enjoyed you hanging out with us. And this recording will be up on the Virtual Excursions Australia website. Please click on the chat link if you want to register to learn about how to maximize live engagement online. And thanks again to the New South Wales State Government for also putting this thing on as well. Over to you, Karen, to finish this up.
Excellent. Well, I just want to echo what Ben has just said and thank everyone for joining us today. I've learned just as much as I hope all the participants have learned. It's really great having some, you know, fabulous people in the room together and to listen to all of your experiences. And yeah, I've learned something as well. So thank you very much. And yeah, great for Small Business Month being able to fund this so we can all have this program for everyone out there for free.
All the best, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All the best.